So again, as you can see by the intro there, I finally got that thing up and running, although there's no cooling on it at the moment. So yeah, that's what I'm working on today, is actually putting a rad into it. Where I'm going to put it, what rad I'm using, coolant routing, putting the pump in. But to kind of recap what happened over the past few days, I had some more corrupted SD card footage. I believe it's my card reader that is actually doing it. So I've devised a different method to pull footage off of the camera. But we'll go over the wiring. I did make a few errors in my previous video about wiring, and I wanted to just cover those just in case somebody else was trying to do this, either removing the immobilizer or putting a two-stroke motor into a newer Piaggio four-stroke chassis. So let's cover that right now. Again, apologize for the wind noise, like with the heaters on. It's kind of cool where I'm at here right now. So I ditched the 7 or 8 pin Piaggio style regulator rectifier setup. Not that it didn't work. So the Piaggio one contains both the flasher module and the regulator rectifier in one unit. Because I'm using a Minarelli stator, it's just a bit easier this way. It is possible to do with the other one, but it is slightly more confusing because of the way that the Piaggio treats the coils, but it can be done. But this way is a little bit easier. These are way cheaper, easy to get pretty much anywhere. It's like a generic 4-pin regulator rectifier for like most Japanese scooters. And this was off Amazon. It was like $10 or something. It's an LED flasher too, so I can run all LED bulbs. Then with that, I have the MVT coil. So it basically is on its own little sub-wiring harness here. You can pardon the ground running through a bicycle cable, but that's just to get it to start. But yeah, so it's basically on its own complete harness and just ties into only a few wires into the main harness. And that's all it really needs to run. The kill switch is one of the leads that runs from the harness into this, just so I can turn it off up at the handlebar. And I believe there's power to the battery, and ground, and that's it. That's all you need out of the main harness. So up here, up at the handlebar, the wiring has changed a bit. So there was a ground coming out of here and out of the 3-pin connector, and that is tied into ground. You'll see these 2 leads here that run to this. That actually makes it so I can plug in the city lights in the front of the headlights, because on the North American scooters they are not connected. The green wire, which is the kill switch, runs into this blue lead here. And then we have the orange wire here, which is power out, running into one side of the light switch to run up for the city lights, and then runs into the blue on the 8-pin or 7-pin connector there. And that's really it. These other wires are all do nothing. They're for sensors for the 4-stroke that aren't there anymore. And I have this extra red lead that's going to run down to the water pump, and also a gauge up rev counter. So with all that, we are pretty much caught up with what it took electrically to make this work. The other way would probably still work. Everything seemed to work except for the headlights, which have now been converted over to DC. The headlight and the running light on the rear were both AC fired, and the signals were AC fired through the regulator rectifier. Now everything is converted to run DC, which just is a little bit simpler just with the way that everything is set up. Getting on to rad stuff. So I took my once-a-year trip out to the local motorcycle salvage place and picked myself up a 2000 VFR800 radiator, and it actually pretty much fits. For the grill section, I made a paper template, and it actually fits just in there like that. So I'm gonna have to cut some plastic out, make some holes, make a small bracket, and then I'm going to put a filler neck that runs up into the cubby that hangs out here, so I can open the cubby and then put water in it. And then I'll have to drill a couple holes in the back cover to let air flow through. And that's the rad placement. And it fits not too bad. I may have to add a little bit more to the steering stops, just as a note. It might be kind of close, so I may lose like a small amount of turning radius, but that's just the way that it is. And I already have a bracket, and then I have this mount here that I can make another bracket that goes in and holds the rad, so it works out pretty good. My other option was a set of KTM 50 rads that I was going to mount up here and use the mesh to try and get airflow through with some ducting to force it, but I didn't like that as much. This just seems like it's going to be a reasonably decent option. So I think for today, I'm going to be taking the front plastic off and cutting it out. Now that might be a little bit of a challenge just because I have to take the forks off, so I may try cutting it just on the bike if I can get it pulled down enough that I don't actually have to take the plastic off. And then for the rad side, I have to weld slightly smaller spigots onto the inlet and outlet, block one off, and make it into a rad cap. And I'm just going to be using a trials bike plastic rad cap with the built-in pocket. So I normally just hole saw out the corners, rough cut the inside, and then switch over to a flapper disc and just dress the edges. You can make it look pretty decent if you put the effort in. So even just there without deburring it, that's dressed, that's rough. So you can get it quite nice if you do. Just take your time, use the flapper wheel, knock all the sharp edges off. You can get it almost looking like it's supposed to be there. And then the radius corners just look nice. You don't have big cuts in and try. So the fender sat really high because this used to be a 14-inch wheel bike, but after taking it off to get that plastic piece cut out, I found out that they just have simple brackets on there. So now it fits proper. It dropped the fender down a little bit. So that's a bonus. I don't have to buy the 12-inch fender. It's just remove the brackets and then it fits the 12-inch wheel properly. So we got the rad placement all sorted out. This is where the electric water pump is going to be. I have to weld a new spigot onto here that comes down to this diameter. Coolant hose is going to run in through, there's a hole in the frame just down here, and then run over to the bottom side, to the cooling side of the engine. And then for the hot side, it's going to come out, same deal, run down in through this hole through the frame and run up and dump in here. So then for this extension here, it's going to get welded up to about this area. There's a glove box here, so I'll be able to actually put coolant in it and not have any holes visible, other than there's going to be some air holes coming through here just to allow air to flow through the rad. But I think that's it for this evening. Next time we'll be making some fittings, welding them onto the rad, hopefully getting the lines run. Until then, take care.